What's up, guys? Welcome to the Kingdom Men Transfer Man Nation, brought to you by our sponsor, the Acquisition CEO. If you want to check them out about buying or selling a business, hit them up in the link below. Today, I've got on a good friend and a client of mine, Andrew Blackwell, and we've got a lot of fun things to talk about. Andrew, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, man. Just, Justin and I met through a real estate deal. I've been in this area since 2013 in sales, and just looking forward to your journey and being on your podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that first. I was laughing about that today. I called some people that were buyers looking at the Pittman Creek property. And just a little bit of backstory for listeners so that they know. I'm a fan of cold calls. I'm a fan of calling. I'm a fan of relationships. I'm a fan of prospecting, and not just real estate, but entrepreneurship and just in life in general, right? Relationships take us places. It's not about what you know. It's about who you know.
Yep.
And so I had called a for sale by owner property, old John
Cold
Dale, cold call.
Yeah.
Drove by and I thought, man, that's some good looking land. I'd like to have a conversation about it.
Yep.
So I called them up and they said, man, we will never list that with a real estate agent. We hate realtors. And it had been listed by 4 other real estate agents. And I was like, all right, cool, no problem. I said, can I show it to some people? Because I had a lot of buyers at the time. And so they were like, yeah, sure, no problem. So I showed it and I showed it and I showed it. And I showed it probably 6 or 7 times. And I called them up one day and I said, hey, let me know what you guys really want to do with this thing, because I think I can move all of it, all 44 acres in 4 different tracts. And they're like, I don't know. Nobody else has been able to do it. And I was like, well, I'm young and I like land. I'll take the challenge. I got the job, signed the listing agreement in the pasture up there at the end of the road. And I was like, man, I'm not putting out a little bitty sign. I'm putting out a banner. So I put up a 4x8 banner on some wooden poles out of a tree that I'd cut down. And so put it out there off the side of 414. And then one day, that banner, I'm a big fan of advertising too, and doing marketing well. So every time I do a big listing, it gets a big sign, not just a little stake in the ground.
Yep. I've noticed that.
Which is a good thing, right? That's
it
good.
is, 100%.
People should notice. It makes my phone ring.
You should advertise for yourself.
You should tell people what you do for a living. Yep. So I think you called me off of Land Watch.
I did.
Yeah, I was sitting at my office one day, and so you saw this piece of property on Land Watch. You remember how that conversation went?
It was, well, you told me a little bit about it, and I said, hey, just look, I'm looking to buy this tract of land, might subdivide it, and you said, look, that's not going to work on this one, and so we got going on it, and it was, what else do you know about?
Yeah.
But backing up, giving you props on cold calling a for sale by owner. That's huge to convert that person. I know that person and that person's personality.
Yeah.
And to turn them over to a customer of yours, that's props to you.
That's a lot.
Which the trickle down effect from that, look at what fell out.
Oh,
you gotta
gosh.
sell all of that, and then we'll lead into where we're going here. I mean, that ended up being a huge monster transactions for you.
Yeah, I mean, that thing, that one call off that for sale by owner sign has put well over $150,000 in my pocket, if not maybe $200,000. And I've still got the sign sitting beside my shop, kind of as a memory and a keepsake.
Oh, that's awesome.
Just because it's such a neat story, it really propelled me into a healthy real estate career. To get some listings like that. And then that led us into the other conversation, which is about the piece of land that you actually bought.
Well, to kind of give clarity here, I was calling about 10 acres and then ended up buying 60.
Yeah.
What a conversion. That's two
very different
things.
different
products for sure.
Well, and it was worth it, but even the piece of property that you ended up buying wasn't for sale at the time.
Nope, off market.
It was 60 acres of good land, waterfront, on Lake Robinson, which if you're not from here, you don't find 60 acres of good land that's dockable for multiple docks on Lake Robinson.
Correct.
They don't come across. And so I asked the lady, I said, would you let me show this to a friend of mine? And she said yes. And so I took you out there and we met and we walked around, might have rode around. I think there might have been, I don't even think there was a road down to the bottom of that time.
Yeah, just the logging road. And the property didn't show as well because they had logged it 3 years before or something like that. But, probably where we get to some point in this podcast is, the vision.
Yeah.
To be able to see it and to feel it. And, that you set me up to be able to do that.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
That's what I love about land. And one thing I do a little different is I like to help people understand the vision of what maybe could be possible just through my years of being around developers and those kind of things. But the lady said no at first.
Absolutely.
And
she said no.
We had to write her a letter.
We did. Yep.
And I went and I put it in her screen door.
Yep.
And what's funny and interesting about that, and I just want to encourage listeners in the audience to this, because it's all about what you're willing to do. It's all about being committed and doing whatever it takes. You know, I had to call a for sale by owner. I had to get that deal locked up, and I had to go find this lady because I knew that you wanted to buy a piece of land. And then she said no, and then we had to overcome that objection. It'd been so easy. We wouldn't even be sitting here if I'd have quit, you know?
Correct. And it wasn't for the fact that she didn't want to sell it. It was for the fact of that she had a bad situation 2 years before that and got her hopes up and the deal fell through. So
Right.
she was just scared of the process.
Yeah. And so we walked her to the finish line and ended up, I mean, y'all bought the house,
We did. Yep. Which wasn't,
even part of the initial thing.
it wasn't part of the initial deal. And
Yeah.
then everything went so well that she just threw that in. And I mean, we bought it at an extreme discount,
Yeah.
you know, to make her life easy. And we'd already painted the picture for her.
Yeah.
You know, so
Yeah, she was going to get what she wanted, and I think that's the point. One of the things, one of the parts of any negotiation is it should be a win-win.
absolutely.
And then when you're able to relay that and communicate that vision to everybody that is trying to participate in this business transaction, and it is a win-win, it makes everybody was happy.
Yep.
Closing day, everybody was happy.
Yep.
Nobody was mad. She was excited. That lady walked away with a serious check,
She did.
just
She did.
shy of 7 figures.
And she likely needed it because we
Yeah.
found out obviously she'd pulled a mortgage on the property, which had been handed down 3 to 5 generations, whatever her lineage was in the
Yeah.
time. Only one room in that house was had HVAC in it, so she, you know, it was not necessarily up to code.
Right.
And she was living there making do and had to pull money out of the house, but whenever somebody bought the property and the house, it allowed her to pay that off, go buy her another place, and she ended up moving her mom and dad in with her and taking care of them. So the good
So
kept going.
many things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was great. I mean, and when we closed, it was time for us to go to work because
Yeah.
we had a vision to put out there.
Yeah. And so y'all did that and you carried on with that. But real estate's also an investment. People always ask me, should I buy the house or buy the land? I'm like, yes, because it never goes down in value. 60 acres on Lake Robinson, what was that, 4 years ago? Maybe something
Yep.
like that.
Yep.
Today, it's probably worth 3 times of what you were able to get it for.
You're correct.
And which has been another benefit to you,
Yep.
right? As the owner of that over that time, and that's allowed you. That has afforded you that risk, that opportunity, navigating that, going through that hard process, has allowed you to get into the Airbnb business.
Yep.
Greatly further your real estate, investment adventure.
Yep.
Right. With
We
some,
can throw it out there that you and I just closed on another piece of property
Yep.
you represented, and we bought one last week.
yeah, just got another piece of property to do another deal.
Yep.
And so, but none of that would have happened had you not been willing to sign the paperwork and figure out how to close 60 acres. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
And it was a process.
That was a process. It wasn't easy.
Nope.
It's not like you're made of money and you inherited money and you just had money sitting around. You had to put that whole deal together
Mm-hmm.
on the back end of things.
Yep. That's right.
And that's always an encouraging story to me because it's possible. I mean, we're made to do great things. Excuse me. We just got to be less lazy. We got to be committed. You were committed,
Yeah.
All
in.
I'm like, man, I don't know if he's going to get this done or not, but son of a gun came to the closing table.
Yeah.
That's
That's right. That's
and
right.
got that lady paid.
But it kind of speaks to what you and I talk about a lot, right? Is go all in.
Yeah.
And go. It's not about where you go. It's about how far you can go.
That's right.
To quote some things that you've said
Yeah.
before, and really picking up on that.
Yeah, it's about staying in the game and being on the journey and being committed to the process about what you want to do. And I was talking earlier with Rob about, having clarity around our vision. Like you have a vision for life. You know
Yep.
what that looks like. You have a vision for your family. You have a vision for yourself personally. I do as well. And so when doubt sneaks up to steal things from us, we're like, nah, I got clarity on what I'm going to do. I have it written on my desk actually on a piece of paper, what my 6-month targets are and some of the things that I want life to look like. And I go, is this decision in or out of alignment with those things? Is this moving me closer towards it, or is it moving me further away? And the reason I ask myself that is because every choice is doing one of the two, right? If I go eat McDonald's, it's moving me away, which I wouldn't. It's moving me away from getting a six-pack.
Yep.
It's really simple when you have massive clarity to
Yep.
make those choices. They're not more complicated.
That's
it actually
right.
simplifies things.
That's right. Mine is design a life that you never want to retire from.
All right?
And
Yeah.
we have that capability
Yeah.
to design our own life that we never want to step away from.
Yeah.
It's it pains me to hear folks around to try to get to a finish line. You know, let me get to that retirement age. Let me get to that 401k, you know, where I can pull it out without penalty. But what if you don't make it?
Right.
You know, are you going to just give it up along the way?
Yeah.
No, you got to have clarity, and then you got to enjoy the process when you first have that clarity to whenever you get that goal, whatever that goal is in between. That's enjoying the work. That's enjoying the process.
Yeah, we should learn to enjoy the process. I think about it all the time. We're going to die. It's inevitable.
100% fact of today.
Yeah.
We will.
It's coming.
We will die.
So we might as well do something with it. I get so frustrated, even with the old version of myself. I get so frustrated with that version of myself because I was so focused on some finish lines. Mm-hmm. And I was listening to something, I don't know if it was this morning in the gym or over the weekend, but it was talking about how, you know, they print money. It's actually not that valuable, right? They print it.
Yeah.
It's just like paper or anything else. It's like this table.
The dollar, your $1 bill when you put it in the bank is loaned out 9 times.
Yeah, which is crazy.
Yeah.
You know what they don't print? Time and memories.
That's right.
You know what I mean?
There's
talk
not
about
enough
that.
money to buy it.
And they ain't enough money to buy it. We want to generate revenue and use the talents. Here's the way I look at it. Like, God's given us talents. God's given you talents. God's given me talents. God's given Ken talents. And we should use those to be of good service, to leverage our time so that we can generate some revenue, so that we can do some fun things and make some memories with our kids. But like reading that book with my daughter, or taking that walk, or going to the farm, or spending that time with her while she does a horse lesson, or doing those things, taking your daughter to school in the mornings, those hugs, man, you're your kid's hero.
That's right.
You know, she's
and she's ultimately my hero.
Yeah, that's what I tell my daughter all the time. Like, thank you for being my hero, because, you know, I think God sends angels in little packages. And them little girls.
Look, at the end of the day, if the more childlike we are,
childlike faith.
There it is.
Yeah.
Simple.
Yeah.
And that's what we're supposed to be. We just figure out how to complicate it every now and then.
Yeah. We almost spend our whole lives trying to complicate the simplicity that the way that we're made to operate, from the things that we consume with our mouth, the things that we consume with our eyes and our ears. We almost overcomplicate it, but I think we're sold that concept because we build such a backwards life. We want to escape it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And I think to myself, how jacked up is that, like you just said, you're trying to get to that retirement, you're trying to get to that deadline. How jacked up is it that we spend our whole life, like most of it, 50, 60 years, maybe 60, usually probably 60 to 70 years of our life, building a life where we get to the end and it's almost over, to that finish line, and we didn't even like any of it.
Nope.
You know? We built it all jacked up. And I think about like foundations. You know, we always talk about mental, physical, spiritual, emotional, and financial principles. And it's
in that order.
Yeah, in that order. The financial pieces last for a reason.
Yeah.
But like, I think that we start out in life chasing the dollar, which is printed, and we forget about our passions, and we forget about that time piece, and we forget about the memories. And so the foundation upon we spend those 50, 60, 70 years building our life, no wonder we end up, you know, at the end of the road, miserable and full of anxiety. Like, I think that there's probably, maybe pandemic's not the right word, but I think there's going to be some significant outfalling of people kind of between, well, we're in the middle of kind of two generations, the probably 20-year-olds and like 50, 60-year-olds, and them being able to retire because they worked their whole lives, right? And a lot of times people worked for the wrong things. And I know a lot of people who are divorced, and their kids are miserable, and their kids don't even like them, and their kids, especially dads who are like business guys. I know some people, their relationship with their daughter is extremely toxic. Like, their daughter doesn't even want anything to do with them. And that breaks my heart.
Oh, that's terrible. Yeah.
You know? And I think that there's going to be some outfall for that because we were not in alignment with who God made us to be. Like, God didn't make us to be busy.
Nope.
You know what I mean?
Nope.
People say that all the time. You say, hey, how's it going? And they say,
man, I'm busy.
Man, I'm busy. I'm like, well, you're not a billionaire. What are you doing? Like, that's what comes to mind. I know a few billionaires, and they ain't that busy. I mean, they've worked hard, and there's a season for that, but they're not that busy.
Right.
You know,
right.
I'm anti-busy, anti-hustle culture, you know.
Right.
Like, I want to build an intentional life that I want to wake up every day and live and make memories.
Well, that day that you're given, whenever you wake up, you make the most of. You don't leave any meat on the bone.
Yeah.
You live it all the way through.
Yeah, because you never know.
No, you really don't.
You know, people live like they got tomorrow. And I think we should live, with the future in mind as far as the choices that we make, like an investment. But I don't think that we should assume that, like when I go to bed, like I tell my daughter, like, hey, I love you, good night, And in the mornings before either she leaves or I leave or whatever, I get that extra hug or that extra kiss or that extra I love you.
Yeah, that's the pact between me and my wife. It doesn't matter what happened. Don't lay your head down with anything going on. Say I love you.
Yeah.
Because if you look back, it could be the last one.
It could be.
And you don't want to live your life knowing that you could have said something different.
I know. Wouldn't that be terrible?
It would be.
That would be distraught.
Yeah.
That would be tough to chew on.
Yeah. But that's okay because we can control it. We can do these things. They're easy. They're simple. We just got to apply them.
Yeah.
And then we get the benefit from them.
Right.
We get to live a full day.
Yeah. What's funny is there's actually a lot of things about life. There's some things that we can't control, but there's actually a lot of things that we can control. Mm-hmm. And I think that we lose sight of that in this oversold, over-marketed, over-stimulated economy of people. We live in an overstimulated society, but entertainment to the escape. But same thing, too, like we were talking about earlier, I don't want to build a life that I want to escape from. Like I want to go to the gym. I want to do my business stuff. I want to hang around my small circle of friends, and I want to hang out with my family. And none of that involves anything I want to escape from.
Right.
You know what I mean?
You're looking forward to the next transition of the day.
I'm ready to do it again. It's not like, and I enjoy a good vacation because we get to go make some special memories, but I don't look forward to vacation because I need to escape my normal life.
Right.
And I think that that's a big misfortune that we operate in. A lot of people, they're looking forward to that one vacation. They're going to go get hammered on the beach and they're going to escape life. I'm like, why is most of your life so terrible that that's your main goal, to go escape it?
Yeah, that's a tough position to be in.
I mean, shouldn't we fix it?
Absolutely. And we have the tools to fix it.
Like you said, it's kind of up to us. That's talking about some of the things that we can control. Like, that's why I love the concept of thinking about mental, physical, spiritual, and emotional. And even the financial piece we can control too, right? It's just a math problem. But if we think about it, the mental piece, it's our choice, right?
Yep.
The emotional piece, the emotional intelligence piece of this thing, how we interpret our reactions and transactions and the way that we respond to things, it's up to us. Spiritually, it's up to us whether we engage our Creator in His Word or not. Mental, spiritual, emotional, and the physical, right? I mean, it literally is up to us. It's sure there are limitations out there, but it's up to us, the things that we consume physically, with our mouth and our eyes and ears, and then the way that we exercise and the things that we do. And so I guess maybe I'm just too simple, but the way I look at it is I'm like, if all these things are my choice, I should be headed in a direction I want to go. Right?
Yep.
But I think a lot of people, unfortunately, live without intention. And you and I talk about that a lot, about living an intentional life.
Yep. You have to have clarity. I mean, you just have to figure out what's best for you and your family, what you're set out to do as a whole from your Creator, and then go get it.
Yeah.
And do it within the boundaries that you can operate in daily.
Yeah. And that's the thing, though, is that you got to go get it. You got to go do it.
Yeah, you're given a brain. It's up to you to use it.
Yeah, I always say God gave me a brain and a mouth, and I'm going to do something with it, right, while I'm here on this planet.
That's right.
And I'm always learning and always navigating and figuring out what that looks like. But you got to get out there and you got to go try some things so that you can figure it out.
Yep. I know you've heard this from the older generation. You got to put some legs to them prayers.
You got to put some legs to them prayers.
You got to get out there and go do it.
That's so true.
You can ask for assistance and ride along and everything else, but you got to do your part.
Yeah, amen to that. So there are verb words in the Bible. There's a lot of verb words, and the reason I know that is because we homeschool, and I've heard my daughter talk about verb words. They're action words. And a lot of times in the Bible, we like to think about the hope and the prayer piece, but then we got to do our part. One of the things I realized kind of in my sobriety journey was God's already done it, right? We're on His timeline. I need to participate and do my part. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
And a lot of times we hope and think that would be like a biplane flying through the sky with a banner. Hey, man, you should buy this land. It's a good deal.
Yeah.
Man, that's a clear sign from God. Like, okay, that's pretty clear. But a lot of times it's not that clear. Mm-mm. Not that it couldn't be, but we've got to navigate that. And that requires you getting out there and using the talents that God's given you. Mm-hmm. I think about that a lot in the Bible. It talks about hiding our light. what does it say? Put your lamp up on the stand or something like that. Like, don't hide your light. When I think about that, the light is the talents that God's given us, and it even references talents. There are parables in the Bible, either 2 or 3 in the New Testament, where it talks about God gave these guys talents, and one of them invested, the second one invested, and I think the third one, he didn't do anything. He buried it.
Yeah.
And the guy's like, why? You're fired. Like, why'd you bury your talents?
Right.
But that comes with clarity too, being certain in what we know God has given us and made us to do, and recognizing those talents. But I don't think we figure those out unless we get out there and try.
You do. Yeah, you have to put yourself out there.
Yeah, just like you were saying, you got to put some legs to them prayers.
You do.
You
do. You got to ask a couple people to come along with you too.
You do. You've got to have some friends. You become the average of the 5 people that you surround yourself with.
Yeah. I think those partnerships are huge. I view not our realtor versus customer as, a customer's relationship. It is a partnership, because we got to navigate this thing to the end.
100%.
You got to do your side. I had to do my side. And, after that, now we have a great friendship.
Yeah.
And yet again, another partnership,
Yeah.
through the coaching process. So.
Yeah. We even have a business. We have a product that we've started. We'll talk about that too, how fun that is.
Yeah.
So I love tactical problem solving, thinking out of the box. And so me and Andrew, we were talking one day, and you were talking about turkey hunting, I believe.
Yeah, well, it was we were on a deer hunting trip.
Okay.
And I always noticed I wore my hat backwards, just going in before daylight and coming out after in the dark, and so trying to get as much natural light into my eyes as possible, or wearing a headlamp. And it just kind of, the idea hit me about our idea, our product.
Yeah.
So.
And it's called Hat Tags.
Hat tags,
and I think we came up with that one day on a call too.
We did. It was. I'm always the termed idea guy, right? And I call you up, and I'm like, man, you got to listen. I got an idea. I got to tell you about it.
Yeah.
And part of being in that inner circle, you got to have those people that go along with you. And hear me out. Let me say it.
Yeah.
And I told you the description of how I thought about it, what it could be, what it might look like, and then you just put the wheels on it.
Yeah.
It was good. It came from out of nowhere to something within 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Right.
And then we had a prototype.
Yep.
Started out with those were popsicle koozies.
Yeah. That was another interesting conversation that we had. Is like, we got to find some material. And then next thing we know, we're online, and popsicle koozie, that'll work.
Yeah.
Send 50 of them to the house.
Yeah. We got popsicle koozies. And
Which, by the way, that was an awesome day for the kiddos.
I was going to say, because they actually used
the neighbor kids over, and everybody's putting their popsicles, which is a pretty cool product.
I mean, it is actually kind of a cool
Wish
thing.
I had one when I was growing
I
up.
know, because they melt and they get sweaty. And
Yeah. That's right.
The frozen Kool-Aid pops.
But looking forward to pushing that out there, going through those, just not for anything other than just future relationships. That's what I'm most looking forward to.
I'm excited about it because we've been through, the first prototype, and then we had the ribbon sewn on one, and then, that's probably 2 prototypes. Then we went to the ribbon plant in Charlotte, and that's dealing with that, and then getting the machine in, and then the machine not coming in, and it was supposed to be in last month or in April or March and April.
Yep.
Still not in, and so we've had to pivot, to leather.
Yep.
Which we're now navigating that.
Right.
But it kind of ties back to some of the other things we talked about like you can literally take an idea and turn it into a product that someone will pay you money for. And Rob and I were talking about this earlier on the podcast about how there's opportunity out there. There's opportunity out there. Somebody's going to get paid. Might as well be you.
Absolutely.
But you can't quit.
Nope.
Like prototype number 1, I remember we were thinking about embroidery. We're thinking, man, are we going to make these things? Should we buy a heat press? And then found out I had somebody in my circle that was kind of in that manufacturing space that's been able to help us out.
Yep.
And then you've got a guy that turns out was kind of in your circle that can help us navigate the leather kind of thing. And so we're fixing to bring this product to market, and we're super excited about it because there's nothing else out there like it.
Right.
And it literally comes from an idea. And I want to encourage people listening to this, other entrepreneurs or people that want to do things. I promise that it's not as complicated. Like this hasn't been to create this thing hasn't been an overly complicated process.
No, and let's put some clarity to it. I don't know the number of ideas I've told you, but it hasn't been just one.
That's true
so
too.
You're like, hey man, that's too complicated.
Right.
That's too many moving parts, and just kind of helping me work through those.
Yeah.
And then this one clicked, that category of simplicity, clarity, and
Oh.
like, dude, this is it. Let's
Easy to
go.
manufacture,
Yeah.
really cool.
Yep.
It's a branded piece that people there's a culture that can exist around it. I mean, it's like koozies or bracelets, the WWJD bracelets, or any of those kind of things. Somebody somewhere made that. In fact, I tell you, I forgot about this. The guy that invented the process of how they make rice cakes, his name's Kerry, and he used to live in Hendersonville. And I ran into him years and years ago. But that guy, literally, Quaker, the company, came to him and bought his process and paid him millions of dollars so that they could figure out how to make rice cakes. Like
A rice cake.
Yeah, a rice cake. Made him a multimillionaire. And so, like, it's usually not, and that's actually probably kind of complicated, but usually it's something simple. Like, you ever watch the show Shark Tank?
Absolutely.
Most of those things aren't rocket science products.
Oh yeah, it seems like you walk away from every episode.
Why didn't I think of that? Yeah. And so I also want to encourage people, when you think of those things or you have those ideas, it really is about asking the right questions. And you got to ask enough of them. And if you ask enough of them and you ask the right people, somebody's going to go, I know how to do that. I know how to do that. I know how to do that.
Or it's I got this guy.
Right. Or I know somebody.
I got this relationship. I got this girl over here, whatever it may be. But that's back to, doing life together as well. You got to have those phone calls that can help you push it down the road, and why not share it?
Sure. Yeah. I think in business and life, there's always plenty of things to go around. And a lot of times when somebody has an idea, and I've even heard people say this, like, I have this idea and I can't tell you about it. I'm like,
so you told me you had an idea, but you're not going to tell me about
I can't tell you about it. It's like that magical. I mean, if it's, first off, if it's that magical, it's probably way too complicated for me to steal it from you.
Right.
I'm not interested in stealing it from you. I got plenty of other things to do. I could probably help you navigate it some capacity. But yeah.
It's okay, fine, I'll sign the NDA. All right, good, we're good. Tell me about it now.
Yeah.
And then they really wanted to tell you and share it with you.
Right.
They just wanted your trust.
Right.
Yep.
Sure. And I was thinking about that this weekend too. We've seen more economic and industrial revolution in the last 100 years. I mean, the invention of cars to spaceships to the iPad to podcasts in 100 years' time. Like our grandparents, they've seen the world change. And I always think about how much opportunity was created from 1920 to 2020.
Unbelievable.
Tons.
Unbelievable. Yeah, I mean, it's just to relate it back to my own personal family. My granddad's still alive.
Yeah.
And he went from not having all the articles of clothing that we're used to because they didn't have enough money. He would make his mom would make his pants out of the flour sacks from the shop or from the old country store to he has a cell phone. He's not quite iPhone status, but think about that conversion rate going from not having anything literally
to a cell phone.
To a handheld computer.
Yeah.
Put it simply, but it's fun to listen to him and watch him, how he's embraced it.
Yeah.
Some don't.
Yeah.
But he has, and oh man, just that exponential growth. I mean, thinking about that, I mean, if he can do that kind of growth, why can't we carry it on?
Yeah, for sure.
I don't know what the future looks like for our side of things, but still, I mean, we can ride that wave too.
Yeah, it's wild to think about. My grandfather was the same way. He was born in 1920 something. Dirt floors on a farm up in the mountains of North Carolina. I mean, literally middle of like nowhere. Mm-hmm. They didn't even have car. They had a horse and buggy. And I remember when the iPad came out, and somebody in the family got him one, and he's like, mind blown, He's like, I can play solitaire now on my, I can take it with me to the doctor's office.
Right.
And just stuff like that. It's like, wow. But it always encourages me and inspires me, talking about being consistent and committed over a given period of time. Ties back to what we were saying in the beginning. We're going to die. We might as well do something with this thing. Like you and I, God gave us some brains. We're thinkers for sure. And so, and doers, and we care. We got big hearts. But we might as well go do something while we're on this planet because time's going to go by.
Yep.
We're going to get to the other end and go, I don't want to be the guy that gets to the other end and go, I wish I had a. Because imagine knowing what you know. Imagine doing some of the things that we've already been able to do and we've already been able to accomplish. Imagine if we just quit on a hard day or, there was a hard week and we just we're like, man, screw it. I'm done. I'm out. I'm going home. Imagine what it'd be like in 50 years and we see somebody else do it. We're like, man, I could have changed my family's tree. I could have changed my daughter's life. I could have been the guy that, was able to get him a yacht or whatever. Not that I want a yacht, but to be able to do the things, right? I want a helicopter. Be the guy.
Yeah.
Hey man, he's got a helicopter.
Yeah.
That would chew me up,
The biggest thing that has helped me is making peace with the process.
Sure.
Like, at the end of the day, the overall arching statement that I can say is it's all work. We work in our jobs, but we don't embrace that we need family work and we need personal work. All of it's work. Okay. Make peace with that.
Yeah.
Now enjoy this process of the work.
Absolutely.
Versus just trying to get the work done or race to the end, type situation. Enjoy that, because whenever you get there, then you can say, hey, this is a pretty good view. Let's keep going out here.
Yeah. Well, and one of the things that John Maxwell told me in a mentoring session was he was talking about growth, and he was talking about greatness, and he was talking about good. And he said a lot of times people, they arrive in the parking lot of good and they stay there. Mm-hmm. He said in order to go to greatness, it's an always growing process. There's no parking lot for greatness. There's a parking lot of good. People they arrive at good, they quit, they get comfortable, they're like, I'm good. But if you want to do great things, which I believe that God made us to do great things, you can't hang out in the parking lot of good. And even those people can be dangerous to hang out with as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It goes, I think, I heard John this past week actually at a growth conference.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And if I can quote it right, you got to do the did before you do the do.
Yeah. Yeah.
You got to do it.
You got to get out there. You got to have some dids behind you. Mm-hmm. I'll tell you a funny thought I had the other day. Might have been this morning. It's been a long day. People don't want to lose their job more than they are afraid of losing their family. Isn't that sad?
It is. Yeah, very sad.
You know what I'm saying?
Very
we were
sad.
talking about family and like doing the work. Like you were talking about family work and all that kind of stuff, because it does take work. Being married, I've been married 15 years, and actually we're just now starting to really enjoy it. You know what I mean? Like we figured it all out. We know how to get along, how to aggravate each other. We laugh more than we ever have. And we're over all the little in whatever they are things, not problems, but just things, the way I'm wired, the way she's wired. And so now 15 years later, we're finally just having a blast together.
Yeah. Well, your dividends of work are starting to pay off, right? And
it's an investment.
And it's an investment in each other,
both
of you. And then it's also your investment into your own headspace.
That's right.
6 inches between your ears.
Yeah. Well, and being the man that God called me to be and being the leader of my life, and that helps me be the leader of my family's life and setting the tone for the household, because as the men, in our household, we do set the tone. You ever go home, anxiety, chaos, just your brain's rattled and you're spouting off, you're short with your wife, short with the kids. I mean, I've done it. We're all guilty.
We've all been there, yeah.
And then guess what? They're the same way.
They feed off of it. And it's almost like they feed off of it at a 2 times rate.
I know, yeah. You're like, listen, y'all got to settle
like,
down.
I can't handle you.
You're like, whoo, y'all got to calm it down, bring it down a notch. But but you ever notice when you go home and you take them flowers and you're like, hey, let's go for a walk, or hey, you want to play outside in the yard? They follow that lead too.
Yep.
And so I think it's a huge thing for us to be the men that God made us to be in our families' lives and be the leader in that concept.
Yeah.
But we can't do that unless we're leading ourselves.
That's right. That's right. It takes a lot of work on you.
It does. It does. It takes a lot of work on you.
And I've come full circle to admit that. Like, because growing up free will and spirit, very much a open thinker and just kind of going with the flow mentality, and until probably 4 years ago it started.
Yeah.
Me just kind of investing in myself, if you will.
Yeah.
And I have learned that conversion rate and to be able to work on my own brain where I can control myself, then to be able to be present for others, versus blowing up or, stepping out as far as just, out of the situation instead of being able to help the situation.
Yeah. We've got to have the capacity within ourselves to be able to do that.
Yeah, and just sidestep out of that moment if you have that moment, to be able to put yourself in a future state and look back on that moment. Does it even matter?
Right.
It does.
Yeah, 5 years from now, it's not going to matter.
No, and if you take yourself further down the road, whenever you are an older person and looking back at your life as we talked about, you're not even going to remember that.
No.
So why cause a situation right
Yeah.
there?
When you get older, you're not going to remember that. You know, I mean, if you blow up, you might remember it.
Well, if you have a fallout,
You know
you'll
what I
remember
mean?
that.
But
You're like,
whatever it was in that moment is a whole lot less important than what actually really is important.
yeah,
You know, which I always think about. This really hit me like a ton of bricks last year. I think about the way God loves us, grace, love, and mercy, right? And I'm like, I remember reading it, and I was like, is this how I love my wife?
mm-hmm.
Right? I mean, grace, love, and mercy, like, that's maybe not sometimes. Maybe I need to have more of that grace thing, you know?
Yeah.
We get mad at each other over like we're just talking about, like the dumbest things. For what reason? It doesn't matter. Like, we'd rather laugh about it than be mad. Oh, you didn't take the trash out, or you didn't sweep this, or you didn't do. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
In 20 years, it ain't gonna matter.
That's right. Just go to work.
Yeah, just go to work.
Take the trash out.
Yeah, take the trash out. And then, like I was saying last week, I thought about, like, you wouldn't treat your boss that way because you don't want to lose your job. Why don't you treat your spouse that way?
That's a good perspective, you
know?
because I don't love my job near as much as I love my wife.
Right.
So why would it ever precedent?
Right.
Never,
But we
yeah.
do that. It's
Yeah.
so common in culture just for people to want to keep their job so bad, and then they throw everything else out the window. And I'm like, but it goes back to that concept of they print that money,
Yeah.
that time and those memories. You ain't getting that back.
Mm-mm. You can always go get some of that money.
You can always go get some
Don't
more.
print
of
it
the
because that'll put you in a
money. Right.
different
Yeah,
spot,
that would
but
be a
yeah.
bad idea. Yeah, counterfeit is not a good thing.
I tell you, Justin, one of the paradigm shifts that I realized here, just call it recently, is you talking about, your emotions and with your spouse or what have
Yeah.
you, is that when you control yourself and you're able to control the situation, it loves you back twice as much.
Mm.
But if you don't, then you just push it out further, and now you got to go recover. So now we're talking about lost time, lost effort,
recovery
energy
mode.
over something that could have been completely avoided. But
Yeah.
my main point of this is, whenever I'm able to be powerfully present, which it takes work.
It does.
I'm not hiding behind that. You got to
Sure.
make peace with that and move on and go get
It's
it
a
done.
journey.
Go get it
Yeah.
done. But you get the fruits of your own labor with that.
Oh, man, so true. It's an investment.
It is, but you get to realize it.
Yeah.
And it's a real sweet gift whenever you get it.
Yeah, no, it is. I tell you, I can think of something specific that for me has changed. So I like to be organized. I like my truck clean. I like myself put together. I like my laundry done. I like meal prepped. I like to have things fairly well in order,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
Having a 9-year-old girl sometimes does not mean fairly well put in order, and I love her to death. And so, like in the driveway, she gets out of the car, straw wrapper, gum wrapper, candy wrapper, and I pull in the driveway, and I'm thinking to myself as a responsibility thing, and I'm like, why in the world do we have a nice home and that everything's picked up and there's trash in the driveway? And I'm like, and I used to get mad.
Yeah.
And now I'm thankful. And here's why. It was a paradigm shift, as you say. I'm thankful that I have a daughter to pick those things up after. Now I'll have a conversation with her. I'll say, honey, come here. Listen, I've picked up trash every day this week out of the driveway. Can you please pick that up?
Sure.
And she's like, yes, sir. No problem, Dad. It's a loving moment.
Yeah.
Instead of being like, why do you leave trash in the driveway? I can't believe you just like you were just saying. Instead of we go into building mode with love and gratitude instead of into anger and recovery mode. And lost time and lost love and lost energy.
Think about how simple that particular moment is, though, and what you get out of it when you're able to deal with it is the fact of you're getting your own little teaching lesson.
Oh, yeah.
By not going wild over a straw wrapper, right? Yeah, and you're able to learn from yourself and maybe even chuckle at your old self, right? Like, that dude would have lost it.
Right. Over what?
Over a piece of paper.
That does, like you were just saying.
Literally.
In 5 years, when I'm laying on my deathbed in 20 years or whenever, 100 years, whatever that is, I don't know. Probably not 100 years, but when I'm laying there, I'm not going to be like, man, I am so glad I got mad over that straw wrapper that day. I just really was a game changer.
Yep.
Like, nobody's going to come on a podcast and say that.
Right.
Because it doesn't matter.
Right. But then you're able to pour into your daughter, too. Because,
Right.
I mean, that's what we're meant to do, meant to lead them, meant to help them. But you're able to do it in a frame that it worked.
And it's out of love.
Yeah.
And I'm thankful for that. just for my own, like you were saying, it's work. I'm thankful for that change, those changes and those kind of things in my life, because having things in order is an important thing. But everybody's made different. And so I can't expect her to operate the same way I do necessarily. That's unreasonable. But I can have a loving conversation out of gratitude and say, hey, do you think that, and here's what I go back to. I always tell her, I said, do you think this is being a good steward of the things God gives us?
Yeah.
Like, you want to take care of your horse, right? She's like, yeah. I was like, okay. Well, we should also take care of the driveway. We should pick up the trash. Like, what if an animal eats it, picks it up? Like, it's being a good steward about the things that God's allowed us to deal with on this planet. That makes good sense, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And she's like, yeah, Daddy, that does. I'm like, all right, we're winning.
Whenever they're able to teach themselves through your guidance, it sticks.
Yeah.
Same as us.
I know. I was going to say, we've got to go through that process, though, in order to learn those things.
Yeah.
But how powerful and how impactful is that, though, to be able to be that way versus just, the dad that's the typical, overbearing father. Like, some people say it's a respect thing. They're like, oh, well, you got to get them because they need to respect you.
Or they're disrespecting you.
Right.
It's like, no, they're not. They dropped a freaking
It was
straw
an
wrapper
accident.
on the ground. It's okay.
Yeah, she probably didn't even notice.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not disrespectful. It's
Right.
just she didn't pay any attention. It's a learning moment. No, it's good stuff, man.
Well, I mean, I think it goes to our mindset to be able to not lose that valuable time, to have to recover those situations and the emotions that go through that. And, even the loss of those, you're losing time, you're losing your energy for the day dealing with that. Once you can kind of go forward, it's just a streamline. Like what you said, now all your 15 years of being married, it seems like it's almost on autopilot. I know it still is work, which it's a different kind of work now, I would assume. But you're able to live it and love it.
Yeah. Yeah, no doubt, man. It's good stuff. Well, we'll go ahead and wrap this thing up. One of the things I always like to ask people when we get done is if there's a piece of wisdom or advice that you could share with somebody that's made a difference in your life. It could be personal, it could be business, it could be something your grandfather said, whatever it may be, something that has made a difference in your life that somebody watching this will go, you know what, that clicks. What would that be?
I'd just relate it back to our conversations, and the things that you talk about, because we are so marketed as a society, and admitting it that the financial piece comes first. Mm-hmm. And you made a statement one time that's really stuck. Money's a follower trait. You got to do something to get money, right?
Yep.
But that doesn't even matter. You got to have these other things right first. Mm-hmm. If you build these things right, that'll follow. It's still a follower trait.
Yeah, it definitely is. And that's what I call becoming more valuable. As you become more valuable as a man, as a father, as a human being, mentally, physically, spiritually, and emotionally, money is people view that as a value thing. It's a follower trait. I mean, I always say, you get paid for a job when you're done.
Yep.
Right? Money is a follower trait of the things that we do and who we become.
In the process of helping other people to be financially stable, independent, whatever.
Yeah.
You get more out of that than ever making money for your direct self.
Oh, 100%. Zig Ziglar, he said the greatest way to get what you want is to help other people get what they want.
Yep.
That's the business I'm in, is in coaching and mentoring, is helping people get clarity around what they want out of life. And then we build the bridge between where they're at. We get real honest with where they're at, and we build the bridge between where they are and where they want to go. And then we just go on the journey.
Yep.
It's like building hat tags.
Yeah.
We had it where we were. We knew where we wanted to go. We just ask questions, and then we just keep going till we get to the end thing.
Yep.
It's not complicated.
Nope. It's not complicated. This life is simple.
Andrew, thanks for being on the Kingdom Men Transfer Man Nation podcast today. Appreciate you being on. Want to give a shout out to our sponsor, The Acquisition CEO. If you are curious about buying or selling a business, hit him up in the link below. And as I always say, let's go do some winning.
Let's do it.
See ya.